All right, y'all. What's up, man? What's going on, man? The podcast episode gonna be publishing stigmatism in my soul on myself. Sean Gumby, we wish to defame, libel, or slander anybody as it relates to this case. Today, we're going to be talking about publicly available court documents. We're going to be talking about the United States of America versus Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, aka Puff Daddy, aka Diddy, aka PD, aka Love. So, what I have here today, and everything that I'm talking about, all of this information is available on pacer.com, made available to the public. So, this is another fascinating case. Today is March 23rd, 2025. Actually, almost a year. 2 days from now will be a year since they conducted the searches on Puffy's cribs. Puffy had a crib in Los Angeles that they searched on March 25th, 2024, and Puffy had a crib in Miami that they searched on March 25th, 2024. Both cribs were searched the same day, at the same time. Now, in this letter from his attorneys, this letter is submitted. It's dated September 18th, 2024, and it's submitted in lieu of a motion, meaning that his attorneys didn't want to have to file a whole formal motion in order to detail and explain what they've explained in this letter. This is a 15-page document. It's from his attorneys, Agnifilo and Intrader, Mark Agnifilo, and Tenny Garagos. Very, very well put together letter. Let's go through. I'm gonna go through some of a lot of the points that are made in this letter from his attorneys, and then we're gonna get into the actual court document. Now, I think Puffy, the search warrant happened March 25th, 2024, Miami, Los Angeles. His attorneys reached out to the government, to the assistant U.S. attorneys on March the 13th with a letter letting the assistant U.S. attorney know that, hey, we're Sean Combs' attorneys. We're reaching out to you. We hear there's investigation going on. We want to let you know that, hey, we're here as a resource. You need anything, get back to us. The assistant U.S. attorneys do not reach back. His attorneys reach out again on March the 18th, 5 days later. Yo, we ain't heard nothing from you. We're his attorneys. If you need anything, reach out to us. We are here at your disposal for your help in regards to your bringing charges against Sean Combs, or you're not bringing charges. Whatever you need, we're here. They don't hear back. The government doesn't get back to them. So, March 25th, they execute the search warrants for Puffy's cribs. It's detailed in here that the execution of the search warrant was very heavy-handed, quote unquote heavy-handed. The United States Marshals and the police team that was on site conducting the search warrants had guns pointed at Sean Combs' kids, had them handcuffed, guns pointed at their heads, guns pointed at their chests. Brought them over to designated area near a helicopter. What they call? What kind of helicopter was that? Media helicopter. They also talk about in this letter, because the government has made the position that Puffy is a danger to the community. He's a flight risk. We need to keep him detained. This letter is, the intent of this letter is to get him a bail, right? Which we all know he did not get. What his attorneys are trying to do is to explain away and assuage all fears of the United States government that Puffy is going to be a danger to the community. He's going to obstruct justice by tampering with witnesses and government informants, or that he may just flee the country altogether. Now, these are some of the things that Puffy does. On September the 5th, 2024, I think they started investigating Puff in February of 2024, maybe even before that. And I think a lot of that was related to that video that came out with him with the young lady by the elevator. You know what I'm saying? So his lawyers make mention that on September the 5th, 2024, Diddy flies from Miami to New York to surrender once he knows that he's going to be eminently charged. He flies to New York, right? He doesn't try to flee the country. He doesn't try to leave. And when he flies to New York, September the 5th, 2024, his attorneys reach out to the assistant U.S. attorneys in the government and say, yo, Puffy's there. He's in New York. He's ready to surrender. Let us know where you want us to surrender, what date, what time we're going to be there. They never get back to him. He rents a room at the Hyatt, the Park Hyatt in Manhattan, stays there for like a week or so, and then he rents another room at the Carlisle. All of this while, his attorneys are trying to reach out and say like, yo, when do you want us to surrender? We there, we ready to rock and roll. Let's get to it. Let's get there. They never reach back. And his attorney makes the argument and makes the case that the reason that they didn't want to let him self-surrender was because if they allowed him to do the self-surrender, that would indicate to the judge deciding whether to give him bail or not that he flew up to self-surrender. He self-surrendered. There was no static, no beef. That would lead the judge to believe, all right, give him a bail. So what they do is, when Puffy's attorneys are reaching out to the assistant U.S. attorney to find a date and time to self-surrender, they never reach back and they arrest him. So that gives the impression that we had to arrest him. He should be denied bail. Okay? And that's what happened. I think he gets arrested September. We'll get into it. Now, another thing that Diddy does before he's arrested is he pays off the mortgage on his house in Miami. He had a mortgage. The house in Miami was worth, they did a appraisal. The house is appraised at $48 million. He had equity in the house of $30 million. So when he found out, he kind of knew he was going to get arrested, he was going to get charged. He goes and he pays off the remaining $18 million mortgage. So now he owns the house free and clear. There is no mortgage on the house. The house is worth $48 million, or the property is worth $48 million. So he pays off the mortgage as another gesture to the government that I'm not a flight risk, okay? After the search warrants on the houses in Miami and Los Angeles, his attorneys state that Diddy's mother and all of his adult kids are gonna sign the bond, the bail package, that if he doesn't come to court, right, I guess they can go after them, arrest them, or whatever the case may be. If there's an attorney watching this video, please put that down in the comment section. You can watch this video on Spotify or YouTube. The Spotify is the podcast with soul. My Instagram is the podcast with soul. In addition to his mother, his sister, and all of his kids signing the bail bond, his attorneys make Diddy and all of his kids, and I think his mother too, surrender their passports. They all surrendered their passports to their attorney, to Diddy's attorney, as another gesture that we not no flight risk. We ain't even got no passport. Puffy begins to try to sell his plane, his private jet. And he has, I think, 2 offers at the time this letter is written from people that are willing to buy the jet. Okay? This is another gesture to the government that we're not a flight risk. We're going to sell our plane. We got people interested in it. Another thing that he does is he agrees to having GPS monitoring on himself. I guess the beeper on the ankle. He also agrees to have a new security company with the approval of the United States government to monitor the ingoing and outgoing of people at his property, right? And provide written logs as to who comes in and who leaves. No government witness can come to his house. Another condition. No female visitors can come to his crib while this whole case or trial is going on. This is another concession that Diddy is willing to make. Another one was he was going to restrict his travel to only Southern Florida, which was Miami, and Southern, did it say California? Southern Florida was one, I'm certain. New York and New Jersey was another district that he only could go. And maybe even to LA for his house. So while this whole case was going on, this is the offer that Puffy is making, that is Diddy's attorneys are making, to quell the fears of the government that he's going to be a flight risk. Now, also, the reason what they were going to do is document, and they did this prior to him getting arrested. Diddy's attorneys were documenting whenever he traveled anywhere, and they were sending it to the government before he traveled. like in July of 2024, he flew out to LA to do something with his kids. They let the government know Diddy is leaving on such and such date. He's going to arrive in California such and such date and time. While he's there in California, he's going to go and do this, that, and the other thing. Then they left California and flew to Wyoming to do something. They documented that. So what Diddy and Diddy's attorneys were doing was being open and transparent, right? They were being open and notorious about what he was doing, where he was traveling, what he was going to do. And they said they would continue to do that throughout the entire investigation and even into the trial. And that he could only go to California, the Southern District of New York, the Eastern District of New York, or the District of New Jersey, because Teterboro Airport is right here in New Jersey, which is probably about 6 miles from Manhattan. That's where a lot of the private jets that people are coming to Manhattan, New York, they fly into Jersey, into Teterboro, and then they drive into the city, because Teterboro is like 6 miles from New York, Harlem. If you go across the George Washington Bridge, if you go across the Lincoln Tunnel or the Holland Tunnel, it may take you a little bit longer, maybe 7 or 8 miles, because you got to come down south a little bit and go. So this is what they were agreeing to. What was something else? You get the point. You get the point. So he was doing all of these things to get himself a bail, and the attorney references it in here that it's more effective for him to fight his case outside of detention as opposed to inside of detention. And the government at the bail hearing, the government raises a couple of cases in opposition of giving Puffy bail. They raised the Jeffrey Epstein case, that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't afforded bail. He remained in custody. So because he remained in custody, Diddy should remain in custody. Diddy's lawyer shot back and said, yo, Jeffrey Epstein's case is totally different than Diddy's case. Number one, Jeffrey Epstein flew into New York City from France. He was out of the country and flew back in on an international flight. Number one. Number two, Jeffrey Epstein's case involved minors, right? Which his attorneys state none of this is equal or has any type of similarity to Diddy's case. Another case that they use is another dude named Rainier, who was denied bail. He had some trafficking, sex trafficking cases that his also involved minors, right? And then Puffy's attorneys argue this is different from Diddy's because his involved little people and Diddy's don't. Then they used R. Kelly. The government brought up R. Kelly not being denied bail, and that because R. Kelly was denied bail, Diddy should be denied bail. Diddy's attorneys argue that R. Kelly's cases involve little people and Diddy's doesn't, right? And then they brought up one more. What was the last one? It was one more. I can't think of it. But anyway, they went back and forth with that. And at the end of the day, Diddy is denied bail, right? We all know that because today is March the 23rd, 2025. And Diddy is still in custody. here's another thing. They also talk about the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn and the horrendous conditions that are prevalent at MDC in Brooklyn, and that, you know, he doesn't deserve to sit in there, right? Because it's very violent. There's drugs. They talk about that the inmates unalived another inmate a couple months ago, right? Then they talk about over the last 3 years, 5 inmates have took their own jammies. They done took their own joints. They didn't want to, they couldn't continue. They didn't want to, you know what I'm saying? They didn't want to keep on living. So they took their own joints. As a result of the violence, they say the food is contaminated. And then his attorneys also cite cases where judges have put in stipulations in cases that judges have sentenced inmates to incarceration, to detention, but have said in their sentencing hearing that I sentenced this person to detention, to prison, but if they get sent to MDC Brooklyn, it should be an immediate transfer out of detention to home confinement because the conditions at MDC Brooklyn are so bad. And that is this is why Diddy is denied bail. Now, let's see. Mr. Sean Combs, through his counsel, submits this letter in lieu of a formal motion for Mr. Combs's release from custody on the proposed bail package below. The defendant's updated bail package addresses both risk of flight and danger to the community and reasonably ensures the defendant's return to court. This letter will walk the court through a series of actions taken by Diddy over the past 6 months that we view as unprecedented and that prove that he is not a flight risk or a danger to anyone in the community. These actions show that Mr. Combs is eminently trustworthy and that he is demonstrably committed to showing his innocence in court in the context of this case, and that he should be released. Number 1, Mr. Combs flew to New York on September 5th, 2024 to surrender. The first thing the court should know is that when it became apparent to his counsel that Mr. Combs would at some point be formally charged, he did something extraordinary. He left his home in Miami and traveled to New York to surrender. We told the prosecutors he was in New York to surrender. We asked them for a time for the surrender. They never got back to us. The government withheld this information solely so they could arrest Diddy and not allow him to surrender, which he flew to New York to do. Instead, the government effected an arrest 2 nights ago solely so it can argue for detention. Nonetheless, Mr. Combs' travel to New York to self-surrender is a major factor that the court should consider. So, they arrested him on September the 16th, 2024, because this letter is dated September 18th, 2024. Surrendering himself to the prosecutors was not the first action Diddy took to show his trustworthiness and lack of flight risk. Indeed, it is a pattern. It is part of a pattern since even before the March 25th, 2024 searches of Mr. Combs' residence. Mr. Combs should be released on the conditions proposed so that he can fight this case in court effectively. Now, this is Diddy's proposed bail package. The proposed package. The defense proposes the following bail package. The proposed conditions will assuage any fears of danger to the community and will ensure his return to court. Letter A, a $50 million bond. Letter B, co-signed by Sean Combs, his mother, his sister, the mother of his oldest daughter, the mother of his youngest daughter, and his 3 adult sons are all going to sign the bond. C, secured by the equity in Mr. Combs' residence located at 2 West Star Island in Miami. The appraised value of the home is about $48 million. B, the home is unencumbered. In anticipation of this bail hearing on August the 20th, 2024, Diddy paid off the remaining mortgage of about $18 million so that the home could be used to secure a bond and be free of mortgage. Letter D, secured by the equity of Mr. Combs' mother's home in Miami. So they were going to put up Diddy's house and his mother's house. Letter E, Diddy's travel will be restricted to the Southern District of Florida and the Southern District of New York, quote unquote, to attend court, meet with his counsel, and attend medical appointments, as well as the Eastern District of New York or the District of New Jersey, only to the extent that his travel to and from New York involves an airport in those districts. This is the bail package. F, Mr. Combs' passport was surrendered to me, his counsel, on April the 1st, 2024. We advised the prosecutors of this fact in an email dated the same day. We are going to bring these passports to pretrial services. Letter G, the passports of the following family members who have already surrendered their passports to counsel after the raids on Mr. Combs' homes. Janice Combs, Chance Combs, Jesse Combs, Delilah Combs, and Love Combs all have surrendered their passports. Since at least April of 2024, Mr. Combs has been making efforts to sell his airplane. We informed the government of these efforts in May of 2024. As explained further below, just last weekend, Mr. Combs entered into a letter of intent with a party to sell it. Mr. Combs understands he is not to travel to Los Angeles, where the plane had been located this week. Letter I, home detention with GPS monitoring. Letter J, restrict all visitors to Mr. Combs' residences at 2 West Star Island and 1 West Star Island, the adjoining property that Mr. Combs owns, except for family, property caretakers, and friends who were not considered co-conspirators. Letter K, restrict female visitors to Mr. Combs' residence except for family or mothers of his children. Letter L, the security company that secures Mr. Combs' person and properties will require any person who enters the property to sign a visitor's log, and then the company will produce those logs to pretrial services to the government every single night. Letter M, no contact with known grand jury witnesses. Letter N, weekly drug testing by the government. Letter O, all other standard conditions of pretrial supervision. The combination of conditions will reasonably assure Diddy's appearance in court and protect the government's and the magistrate judge's stated concerns with respect to the safety of the community. Taken in combination, these conditions present a very substantial, comprehensive bail package for any defendant, much less one who flew to New York to surrender, as Diddy has done. If the government and the court preferred that Mr. Combs employ a different security company than the one he has used for the past decade or so, we request a week to engage a new security company to comply with this condition. So there's more, and I'm going to do another video on this. I really covered a lot of this, but I'm going to do another video on this. So this will be part 1 on Diddy's bail package, and then I'll do a part 2. So there you have it. There you have it. See y'all on the next video. Peace.